Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. Through this channel I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. So if anybody's not aware of this, this is a journey of an investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategy called compound return investing. So the objective is to try to get 201 trades, each with an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In today's video, we're going to be looking at MMTLP and MMAT, and we're going to be focusing on the SEC charges against John Brda, against George Palikaras, and also against the company with regard to fraud, market manipulation and other violations. We're going to be getting reactions also from both George and John Brda himself, as well as reactions from the community. And in the next video I will be looking at the finer case details, so that will be something that you'll have to stay tuned for. Then we're also going to be looking at tick symbol NNE, which is a stock we have been following recently, and again there has been huge breaking news today, and I'm sure those of you following the stock will have seen it go up quite significantly again today. So congratulations to everybody holding NNE. So let's start by having a look at what's happening in the market. So first headline here from Reuters: the Nasdaq rallies on tech strength, but the Dow Jones has pulled back. So one of the key reasons for this is Nvidia turned a corner today, so great news there overall for the tech stocks. And we can see here the recovery in Nvidia was approximately 5.11%, closing at around about $124.13 at time of editing. And other news I'd like to share with you here with regard to ticker symbol DASH, also known as DoorDash. They are currently in talks with the United Kingdom's Deliveroo of a potential takeover. So both of those stocks we will be keeping an eye on. I'm going to start by looking at one of the posts that I shared with regard to the breaking news earlier, and I stated here that the SEC is charging Metam Materials and former CEOs, including John Brda and George Palikaras, with market manipulation, fraud and other violations. So I'm going to head over straight to the press release from the SEC, and we can see here dated June the 25th, 2024, they are charging Metam Materials and the former CEOs with market manipulation, fraud and other violations, and in particular they're looking at John Brda and George Palikaras, as well as filing charges against Metam Materials. However, Metam Materials charges have been settled without any admission, so we'll come to that shortly. But in terms of the complaint is alleging that as a result of a concerted market manipulation scheme, Metam Materials raised $137.5 million from investors in June 2021. So that's the first allegation shared in the press release. If we continue with it, what they're also saying is that both of them planned and conducted the manipulative scheme that included, amongst other things, issuing a preferred stock and dividend immediately before the merger. So I think this is quite tainted language. I think they are presuming guilt before that is happening, and I think they're also assuming that this could be one way that they can blame other people rather than obviously blame FINRA and blame the SEC. So they're also alleging that both of them told certain investors and consultants and hinted via social media that the dividend would force short sellers to exit their positions and trigger a short squeeze. So rather than hinting, I think what the SEC needs to be clear about is what do they mean specifically. And I know in their submission to the court they have referenced George's tweet with regard to the short. So I think if that's the only evidence they have, we'll have to see what if that is substantial enough. So they're further alleging that Brda and Palikaras misrepresented the company's efforts to sell the oil and gas assets and distribute proceedings to preferred stockholders, giving investors a false impression of the value of the dividend. So again, I'd like to see further evidence of this, which I don't think has yet been presented, but it is being alleged. So as far as any tweets from both of them, I'm not particularly specifically aware of either of them saying that the assets were sold. They also go on to say the conduct we allege was a sophisticated yet brazen play by a public company and its former CEOs to purposely mislead investors. I don't certainly agree with that. I don't believe John Brda and George Palikaras set out purposely to mislead investors, and I think that is a very, very strong allegation, and I certainly don't believe that. And they're saying they were more concerned with burning the shorts and creating long-term value rather than creating long-term value for the shareholders. And I think if you can't have a little bit of fun on social media, then obviously what is the point? So they are referring to that tweet, and I did actually call out George Palikaras at the time of that tweet, saying it's probably not needed, probably not a wise thing to do considering the situation, but now it looks like the SEC have picked up on that. So they're charging George and John with violating the anti-fraud and proxy disclosure provisions of the federal securities laws, and they're also seeking permanent injunctions for officers and director bars, as well as civil penalties for both. So we'll go into those specific details in the following video. And they have also instituted a separate administrative proceeding against Metam. So we can see here that Metam have agreed to pay a $1 million penalty without any admission. So let's move on now to have a look at a response, first of all, from George, and he states, after 3 years, he is extremely disappointed in the SEC and their decision to file the case against him. He strongly believes that the allegations are unfounded. I do agree with George, and intends to vigorously defend himself against them, and throughout his career he's always acted with integrity and in the best interest of all stakeholders. He's confident that the truth will prevail, and he's also committed to professional responsibilities and the values that have guided him. So I have no doubts in George's integrity. I do believe George had made some mistakes in the past, but there's no reason why that was manipulative, deceptive, or with intention to mislead and create fraud. So I don't believe that was the reason. I think it was just a little bit of general errors as a director, but not with any malicious intent. What Liz has stated is she's disappointed in the regulators, the government. Basically, American retail needs to fight back, so we will obviously have the backs of George and John. So let's have a look at John Brda's response, and he states here, as many of you know, the SEC has decided to file the suit against him and George stemming from the Wells notice. And he did expect this for some time, so he was aware of it. And he stated, you should know that the SEC has chosen, in his opinion, to protect the short sellers, naked short sellers, as opposed to the loyal shareholders of Torch and MMAT, like ourselves, and also the loyal shareholders of MMTLP, I would say. And he's stating they will defend the accusations and everything they have had now that the case is filed, and the playing field will be levelled. So obviously he's a strong statement to finish off. He's stating here that this could open Pandora's box. So I'm fully behind John. I fully support John. I don't believe John is the kind of person to get involved in any of the allegations that the SEC have alleged. So let's now have a look at some of the responses and the reactions. I'm going to share with you is from Kevin, and he stated, this is not a suit against George and John, this is a suit against the truth, and it's a suit against every single shareholder wanting free and fair markets with transparency. So I do agree with Kevin. What Syntax has stated, does this mean that we could have discovery? So we will look at that shortly as well. And John has just posted right now, and he stated, in response to Frank, he stated Frank initially stated, Frank is basically saying, well, I guess this settles a lot of arguments. And what Frank is basically doing is assuming that this is an open and shut case, which I think is a big mistake. And what John has stated is actually it settles nothing and it's just the beginning. So good response there from John. And what we can see from Kevin again, he says he hopes that it completes a full truthful discovery, is forthcoming, and the case goes all the way to the Supreme Court, because I think once it goes to the Supreme Court, then there is no coming back. What Almeli has stated is obviously in response to George, a little bit of criticism. He did say burn the shorts, and that is hinting in a public forum, and how could he defend that quote? So I think that is a quote that I think was ill-judged, and I think George probably will be the first person to admit that that was a mistake, but I don't believe that is example of fraud or manipulation with intention. What Subway Cup has stated here, if the SEC actually cared, they would be on top of FINRA to provide the blue sheets. Very, very simple. What have they got to hide? And obviously Susie has stated the truth will prevail, and we certainly hope it does. And now let's have a look at what Aldo has stated. He stated that SEC fabricated charges against the Atlas 8 to seize their assets, and obviously we know that was thrown out, and the Atlas 8 were innocent, fully vindicated, and the SEC had egg on their face. What Deadeye SI has stated is, make them pay, John, make them pay. We know you did nothing wrong. And the SEC can kiss our assets, or I think he spelled that wrong. But let's now have a look at a response from Gandalf, who's carried out a little bit of research here, and he stated it sounds awfully familiar to another company, and I think he's talking about Overstock here, sharing an image of what happened there with regard to the SEC, and he believes the SEC may have been going after the company to hide the truth behind investigations and misleading allegations. So obviously this could be something in terms of a potential pattern. And Rare DD has stated, well, in terms of the question about discovery, using AI, I think he stated here, does being charged by the SEC involve discovery? And the answer, according to AI, yes, discovery is likely part of an SEC enforcement action. Discovery is the pre-trial phase where they can request documents, look at witnesses, and also include subpoenas. So what Curtis has stated, a little bit cryptic, is the wolf begins to circle the boy, claw of the black steel fur as dark night, eyes glowing red jewels, pit of hell. I think he's probably referring to the SEC here. What C-Plant has stated, it looks like the SEC has responded, and now they can attempt to hide behind the ongoing investigation, which is very convenient and well timed with regard to the letter that we were looking for a response from. And finally, what Rowley has stated here, that the SEC has got the gut. It's a shock that the SEC has got the guts to do this. The SEC actually approved the merging, issued the dividend, and the issuing of the dividend and the merging. So if they've seen anything wrong with the merging, why did they approve in the first place? The SEC and FINRA fraud. And I think we also have very, very strong questions with regard to corporate action, who wrote the corporate action, and in terms of the dates, who agreed the dates. So I think this is going to potentially give George and John huge opportunity to ask questions, get responses from the SEC attorneys in a court of law. So potentially this could be good news, and in other words, a blessing in disguise. I'd like to finish up by having a look at ticker symbol NNE, and those of you who've been following the channel will know that we have been covering this stock in a number of the previous videos, so go ahead and check some of the previous videos it was out, including yesterday's video and the day before. And there again, we have been having consistent breaking news with regard to NNE, and live in the Discord we also shared additional breaking news for NNE, and we can see here that the benchmark has been adjusted for Nano Nuclear Energy with a price target to $39, adjusted from a previous $15, maintaining a buy rating. So great news there for NNE. I also shared news with regard to ARM, so those of you following ticker symbol ARM, great news there as well. So go ahead and check out my previous videos on ARM. And in terms of what's happened in terms of trading for NNE today, Nano Nuclear Energy, one of the things that I posted is that we can see here as the price went up at one point close to 40%, trading of the instrument was temporarily halted. So it was unhalted, and let's have a look at what's happened today. And it did close at around about $29.10, up 39.43% today. So this has been having a tremendous run. We have been watching this for a while in the Discord, so congratulations to everybody holding NNE. If you would like to get a copy of our weekly watch list as well as our daily stock alerts, and including research and breaking news, details are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.